Hi.
Hi, Richard. How are you?
Hello. Hi, Jamie. How are you? I'm a bit.
All right. What's wrong with you?
I've just been watching Bodyguard, and I'm a bit tense.
Right.
I mean, anything could happen. What was that noise? What was that noise?
What noise, Richard?
Sorry.
What is it?
It's okay. I'm just a bit jumpy because I've been watching Bodyguard, so I need a bit of frivolity.
Right.
It's a bit something to lighten the mood a bit. Got anything in mind?
Like recording a podcast?
Yeah, we could record a podcast.
Well, how about the Gerry Anderson podcast, Pod 14, then?
Well, I mean, I'm here, so shall we?
Might as well.
Hello, partners. You are listening to the Gerry Anderson podcast. I hope you enjoy it. Cheerio.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's get started. Let's go.
Spectrum is green.
The Gerry Anderson Podcast with Jamie Anderson and Richard James.
It's Pod 14, Richard.
Pod 14, here we are. Well, here I am.
And
there
here
you
I
are.
am too.
Yes,
it means
yeah.
I can't believe we've done the first 3 months of podcast. Isn't that weird?
I suppose it must be.
Here's 3 months. We've done
3
the first
months worth.
quarter of podcasts.
Well, when are we going to run out of things to say?
Well, the Randomizer's going for another 400 and something episodes, so I hope we've got
Okay.
enough to go until then. But
dear.
in case we need some filler, can I make a confession?
Oh, yes. What have you done now?
My confession is, so normally we record this at a distance and
Yes.
we record our separate sides and then I put them together in the edit,
Yeah, like today.
like today. So you send me a file, I've got a file on my desktop and off we go.
Yeah.
Now, last time we recorded the podcast in the same room.
We did,
So we
yes.
only had one file.
Yes,
But
easy.
since recording it, and between recording and editing, I forgot that we did it together.
Right.
And so when it came to the edit, I spent just over half an hour pouring with sweat, panicking, and swearing, looking all over my computer for my side of the recording because I had a side called Pod 13, which is really what you call your side, and
Yes.
I couldn't find it anywhere. I was panicking and thinking, I'm gonna have to call Richard and ask him to re-record,
Oh,
and he's
no.
gonna hate me, and I felt terrible. But it's
Oh.
fine. I found it in the end.
Because it was all the same file.
Well, I pressed play on it, and I was just thinking, right, maybe I can record my side spontaneously, listen to Richard's, and then I heard my own voice, and then realised what I'd done. Anyway, so that,
Because let's face it, you have got half an hour to spare at the moment, haven't you, Jamie?
yeah, absolutely, it was
Loads of time on your
half hour
hands.
well spent.
Well, it should be so much easier this week for you then, because we're back to our old configuration. I'm here, you're there.
Absolutely.
It'll be 2 files to mix together.
Yes, thank you very much for reminding me. That's very useful. Anyway, look, this is the Gerry Anderson podcast. We talk
yes.
Gerry Anderson for an hour or
Yeah.
so, depending on what the content is.
Yeah.
You're Richard James.
Indeed, you're Jamie Anderson.
That's it, and that's
Yeah.
what we do, and that's
All they need to
who we
know.
are.
Yeah, but I should just say, welcome if you've just joined us. You have 13 other pods to listen to. You can find them on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify. I think, Jamie, you put them up on YouTube as well.
YouTube, SoundCloud, they're on
yeah.
the Gerry Anderson website,
Yeah.
all listed there at gerryanderson.co.uk/podcast.
And while you're there, you might want to do us a huge favour and rate us and review us and subscribe so you get notifications every time a new podcast appears, and share with your friends. That would be great.
I also have a new request,
Oh, yes.
which is very easy to do. What I'd love you to do right now, if you're listening to the podcast and you've got the pod player open on your device, is to take a screenshot and post it on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook. It's a really easy way of letting people know what you're doing. And
Yes.
it's a picture. They go, what's that?
Great.
So yes, right now, please screenshot it, pause, and head out and post it, and then come back again.
Yeah, great idea.
We'd love that.
Yeah, if you could hashtag it Gerry Anderson Podcast on Twitter to make sure we can all see it, that would be great. Yes, well, how lovely. That would be fantastic. I must say, I've had lots of emails, complimentary emails on my acting in our last podcast.
Yes.
My little Mr. On moment at the end, after the closing credits.
It was beautiful.
Wasn't it? You know, 3 years of training went into that moment.
I can tell. Oh, well, and an entire career's worth of experience. It really shone through, I think.
Yeah, let's put career in inverted commas, shall we? I think.
Let's do that.
Yes. But here we are, Pod 14. So what have we got coming up? Well, we've got the second part of the fantastic interview that, or rather, mini documentary that Jamie has made for us.
No, it's not that. It's a series of interviews badly strung together in no real useful form. So
this is McKinnon and Saunders, the fantastic, puppet workshop, I suppose you could call them. Done a lot of work for Gerry Anderson Productions over the years with Terrahawks and Space Police, the Space Precinct pilot, and of course more latterly they're actually there at the coalface in the thick of it, putting their noses to the grindstone. I can't think of any other metaphors. Well, they're doing Firestorm, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yes, noses to the grindstone.
That's right.
Coalface is quite good, isn't it, because of the fiery element there. Well done.
Because very often our interviews are with fans or celebrity fans or people who've worked with Gerry in the past. Here we have a series of interviews with a few people who are actually right now thinking about future Gerry Anderson productions.
Well, they've been working, and also, as you may have heard if you heard the last one, they complained about the fact that they've had to work with two generations of Anderson.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I know that feeling.
It's really lovely because Ian McKinnon started on Space Police.
Yeah.
As he said, gluing hair onto cats.
Yeah.
That's the cat characters. There was no animal abuse involved. No need to do a historical RSPCA report. And now here he is, heading up a company that's helping a new generation of Anderson stuff come through. So it's very exciting.
Yeah.
Quite, a nice mixture of chat about how McKinnon and Saunders came to be, the challenges of new Anderson stuff, and on part 2 you'll hear from Noel, who is one of the sculptors, who's a massive Anderson fan, and he was just so excited about the whole thing. It was brilliant. I walked into the room and he instantly came over and went, "I've just got to say, the minisode's brilliant. I'm so happy.
Wow.
It's so exciting."
Yes.
And it just enthusiasm pouring out of him, which is so nice. And that's the sort of team we've got working on Firestorm, which is so exciting.
It is really exciting. That's fantastic. Also coming up, we have more of your listener emails that have been sent in to podcast@gerryanderson.co.uk. We've also got another edition of Chris Dale's fabulous Randomizer, where he sat down to watch a random episode of a Gerry Anderson production and to give us his thoughts and comments. I wonder what it is this week. We just don't know.
No, we'll find out though, but I do know that in finding out, he'll be flying a famous Anderson vehicle.
Well, he gets all the best gigs, doesn't he?
He gets around that chap.
Doesn't he? We're also keeping our eye on Twitter because we know that you like to comment as we go. There are some comments in from our a couple of weeks back, the Chris Packham interview that went down very well, that Jamie did. Sterling Silliphant, again, has tweeted, "The Chris Packham Gerry Anderson podcast celebrity interview is the best one yet."
Gosh.
There you go.
Raising the bar every week.
It is rather, isn't it? Alex posted a spectacular episode, SIG, for the Gerry Anderson podcast. Thank you very much for that.
Cheers,
so, we do love to see all your comments on Twitter. Hashtag it Gerry Anderson podcast. Tell us what you think. Tell us what you might want to see within reason or listen to in the podcast. Any ideas for guests or comments or items? And, of course, we love to hear your audio clips, don't we, Jamie?
Yeah, we've got one coming up this week, but do send us a little voice memo, even if you've just got a little spontaneous question. It doesn't have to be long.
No.
Just chuck it in. Even if it's, what does FAB stand for?
Yeah.
Which I still hear every single week.
Well, we could do that again.
Email, tweets, comments on YouTube. What does FAB stand for, Richard?
Well, the truth is, Jamie, it doesn't stand for anything.
No way!
No, that's true. Honestly, you can research it.
Who told you that?
Jamie Anderson. Don't know if he could be trusted.
No, not trustworthy in the slightest. Anyway, no, it doesn't stand for anything. It was a contraction of the 1960s buzzword, fabulous, just to mean affirmative. That's all. It doesn't stand for anything. But we'll keep answering this every 10 episodes.
I mean, the thing is, you see, with these Gerry Anderson acronyms, and he was very fond of them, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Later ones, of course, did mean things, didn't they?
Even the ones before Thunderbirds, they did.
Yes,
PWOR in Stingray, for example.
Okay. And we've
proceeding with orders received.
There you go. And we've got, SIG, and we've got SPA from Space Precinct. And so, people could be forgiven for thinking that FAB might well stand for something.
Absolutely.
That's my point. But it doesn't.
It does not.
Right.
That sounds nothing. Nothing.
So all that coming up and so much more, I would guess. News and
let's
offers
hope so.
and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, should we do a news segment?
Well, if you're ready for some news.
Yeah, I think it's probably time for the Gerry Anderson news.
Let's get Parker in. No, it's not Parker, is it? Who does the news section? It's Gordon, isn't it?
It's Gordon, yeah. Should we get Gordon in to announce the news then, Richard?
Let's get Gordon in.
Here he is.
Hi, Gordon Tracy speaking. It's time for the Gerry Anderson News.
It's actually quite a nice, relaxed news week this week.
Right. Oh, well, that's good, because I'm feeling a bit tense, as you know. So
Yeah,
I'm
as you
happy
said.
for a... Yeah.
Well, maybe I should halve the speed of the news music bed or something.
Well,
just to take it
we
down a
don't
notch.
want to send people to sleep, do we?
That's true. Okay,
Again.
well, look, here is the news. It's very exciting.
No, but are we starting with animal news again, Jamie? Because this seems to be a recurring theme.
Absolutely not. No.
And nothing on the pygmy goats?
I would hate to distract from real Gerry Anderson news. I mean, the pygmy goats are settling in extremely well, and they're really cute. And they follow me around the farm now. It's lovely.
Ah, that's sweet. There's an image.
Yeah, well, and maybe I'll post one on the show notes.
Of course you will.
In fact, they've been chasing the cat this morning.
Oh, well, there we are.
yeah,
And
there's a-
that's it for the Gerry Anderson news.
There's lovely interspecies play that goes on, which is great.
Yeah.
The dog and the cat and the sheep and the pygmy goats all play together.
Who's in charge? Is there a sort of pecking order or a...
The chickens aren't involved.
No.
Way.
Yeah,
I think Richard the
Richard
the
the
lamb
lamb.
is. He's probably the boss of the whole
Quite
thing.
right, too. Excellent.
Anyway, should we actually have some Gerry Anderson news
We
now?
ought to, really.
If you'd like to read some interesting bits and pieces, and if you'd like to disagree with some top 5 selections,
Oh, I love a bit of disagreement.
can I recommend that you go over to the Gerry Anderson website, gerryanderson.co.uk. That's Gerry with a G, by the way, just in case you were going to try it with a J. Some people do.
Really? Do they?
Yeah. Even though they're listening to the Gerry with a G Anderson
Yes.
podcast.
Yeah.
Chris Dale has written a couple of nice top 5 articles for us. Top 5 explosions in a Gerry Anderson puppet show and the top 5 explosions in a Gerry Anderson live action show.
Ah,
So they've come out
nice.
this week, and yeah, you may well disagree with his selections. If you do, you should definitely comment underneath the articles
Yes.
and tell him why he's wrong.
Yeah, exactly. He'll love that.
It's all part of it, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is.
You know, even being an expert and knowing the Gerry Anderson canon in depth as Chris does, sometimes, you know,
He's not always right, is he?
you miss things, and
Yeah,
it's not
that's right.
definitive.
No, indeed not. Now, but there's an interesting thought there. So there's 2 top 5 explosion articles, one about from the live action series and one from the puppet show series. Now, I'm interested. Is there a divide, do you think? I mean, perhaps listeners at home might want to send in to podcast@gerryanderson.co.uk. If you're a fan of, UFO, Space 1999, do you tend to not be so much of a fan of the puppet series? And likewise, if you're a fan of the Thunderbirds and Captain Scarlet, are the live action series not for you? I mean, we often say the great thing about the sort of Gerry Anderson universe is that there is something for everyone. I mean, I have to confess, I'm more a fan of the live action stuff than the puppet stuff. Is that
Richard.
is that a general thing though? Is that a rule that stands? Are you more one than the other, or are there people out there who love it all? Of course there are, but
Yeah,
it's an interesting thought, isn't it?
I do think there's a strong contingent who love Thunderbirds and pre-Thunderbirds,
Yeah.
Scarlet, or Space 1999 in UFO. I do see
Okay,
that kind
yeah.
of grouping.
Yeah.
And part of that is chronological.
Yes.
You know, it's what you grew up with, and by the
course.
time you get to Scarlet, some people were so enamoured with the larger head proportions,
Yeah.
they only liked the stuff before. People
Yeah.
who got there at Scarlet and then went back I don't
Oh,
like
hang
these not so real puppets. It's really interesting. And then, of course, there's the Terrahawks crew.
Well,
Being
yes.
Completely different grouping again.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah.
Well,
But
is that
let us
you
know,
at home?
which
Yeah.
tribe are you in?
That's right, exactly. Which tribe?
Just a quick reminder,
Oh, yes.
if you'd like one.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, I've got a couple of reminders.
Oh, great.
I mean, reminders aren't really news, are they? But they are in this
No.
one, because you might be coming to it for the first time.
That's right.
22nd and 23rd of September. Fab World to Gerry Anderson at the National Space Centre in Leicester, UK.
Yeah, that's
You
right.
should come along.
Yeah.
I'm hopefully there on the Sunday, but there's going to be a display of all sorts of Anderson-y stuff going on, some screenings, lots of interesting guests. Brian Johnson there on the Saturday.
Lovely.
Shane Rimmer and Matt Zimmerman there all weekend. So do pop along. Great day out for all the family.
Yes, young Toby, age 7, is going, isn't he? He sent us a lovely audio file last
He
week.
is, yeah.
He will be there, so that'll be
Bless
nice.
him.
Yeah.
So enjoy that, Toby, but I'm sure we'll see you there.
Yeah.
Also, another date for your diary. Now we know what it is. 27th
Yes.
of October.
Very exciting.
MCM Comic Con London at the Excel.
Yeah.
1 to 2 p.m. premiere of Firestorm Minisode, so do come along, please. We'd love to see you there.
Yes.
And if you want to keep up with everything Firestormy, then you should follow Firestorm on all social media where possible. Firestorm HQ on Facebook and Instagram, SF9 Firestorm on Twitter. You can find the YouTube channel, just search for Firestorm HQ. And the Gerry Anderson's Firestorm mini site, gerryanderson.co.uk/Firestorm.
Yeah, very
and
good.
There's lots of new stuff coming out all the time. We're just, letting you see a bit more behind the scenes, introducing the crew.
Yeah.
So that's a great resource if you're interested in Firestorm.
Well, of course, it's fantastic because, it's all very well looking back at all the wonderful body of work that Gerry left, but there's new Gerry Anderson stuff happening right now. Mm-hmm. That is a very exciting thing.
Well, I think it is, Richard, but I would say that because I'm biased.
Yeah, exactly. So, yes, I'm sure people will want to keep in touch and keep up to date with all the Firestorm news. That's very, very exciting. And we hope for big things for it in the future. And, of course, other Gerry Anderson stuff as well. I mean, there's always things in the air.
Yeah, there's always things in the ether.
Yeah, that's it. That's right, exactly.
Yeah. In fact, aren't there, Richard? We were talking about it just the other day.
Yeah, we were.
That secret thing.
I know. It's so exciting. I can't... No. I know.
No.
We've got to keep that under our hats, haven't we?
That's it for the news. It was quite a news-light week this week.
Well, that's
actually.
all right. That's all right because I wanted, after watching Bodyguard and feeling a bit a bit het up, I just need a little bit of light relief and a little relaxation. So that's fine. I'm glad you didn't drop any bombshells because that would have, jumped out my skin.
No bombshells currently.
No, that's good.
And
excellent.
let's hope the listeners' emails aren't too exciting either.
Well, is it time for some emails then?
I think so. Let's go into the listeners' emails.
Well, this is fantastic because we'll start on a high note. Jamie, this is quite impressive. Now, we know he's a big fan because I think he's spoken about it before on his radio series. He's obviously got a bit of time on his hands now because he's leaving the radio show, the BBC Radio 2 breakfast show. Chris Evans has dropped us an email.
No way.
This is Chris Evans, who we all know from TV and radio, and we know he's a Gerry Anderson fan. He says, "Dear Jamie and Richard," now I can forgive him that because it's Chris Evans. So he says, "I've just finished listening to Pod 12 today." So he's listening to our podcast, Jamie.
Amazing.
He said, "It also happens to be my birthday, so, well, happy birthday to Chris Evans." So what a treat. I really enjoyed the in-depth and insightful interview with Chris Packham, although I don't agree with his thoughts on Joe 90, but each to their own.
Fair enough. As a glasses wearer, I'm not surprised.
Well, that's right. Yeah. And I look forward to hearing the forthcoming conversation with the legendary Shane Rimmer.
Don't we all?
Now, this is amazing, Jamie. So Chris Evans says, "I thought Richard did a great job with the Lizo Mazimba interview and hope he gets to do some more in the future."
All right.
That's high praise indeed, isn't it?
That is. From Mr. Radio
That's
chatting
right.
person.
That's right. Then he says, "I have a question for Jamie. Do you recall the Thunderbirds 2086 animated series from the 1980s? I know it isn't a true Gerry Anderson production, but seeing it again would bring back fond memories if it was ever to get a DVD release. Do you know of any plans for that?"
I don't, quite honestly. Sorry, Mr. Evans, sir, but it wasn't an Anderson thing, so we don't have any connection to it. We don't really know anything about it. I'm sure the rights are probably tied up in Japan, so I wouldn't expect anything soon. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh well. Anyway, keep up the good work, guys. All the best, Chris.
Amazing.
Hang on.
What?
Oh, in brackets at the end it says. No, it says not that Chris Evans, by the way.
What?
Oh. Oh well.
Well, thanks anyway.
Thanks,
that
Chris.
Chris Evans. I mean, you could have put those brackets up front. That would have been helpful. But we're very grateful for the email anyway.
Yeah. Thanks for that. And if you share a name with a legendary radio broadcaster and want to drop us a line, you can do so at podcast@gerryanderson.co.uk.
We'll look forward to hearing from Mr. Terry Wogan and Miss Toadie Blackburn in due course.
Yeah, might be waiting a while to hear from Terry Wogan.
Well, no, because it won't be the real one, will it?
Oh, I see. Yes.
Yeah.
That's
why I said Miss Toadie. Oh no, Richard, that wasn't an excuse to bring out your.
Yeah. What? Any excuse?
Clearly. Well, at least you're cheering yourself up after the disappointment of not that Chris Evans. Anyway, Chris, thanks very much.
Yes,
and
thank you,
I hope
Chris.
I was able to answer your question, even though probably not very satisfactorily for you.
Yeah.
Anyway, Richard, look, I've got an email here from Nigel Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Nigel says, "Hi, Richard/Jamie, or Jamie/Richard."
Yeah, hi, Nigel.
Covering all the bases as usual. Really loving the podcast. I'm so amazed at how much activity and love for all these shows still exists. It's
Yes.
really lovely, isn't it, when you hear that?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's every week. There's just new kind of people joining in and coming on board.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll
Yeah.
keep it short, says Nigel.
Why? Why keep it short? Sorry,
Probably because he
we've got
knows
all the time in the
how much
world.
we ramble, Richard. That's
Oh,
why.
I see.
Really would love it if there was some podcast time devoted to Barry Gray. Jamie comes over a bit reticent, perhaps for some unknown reason, or is it just there is limited info? Does he have any relatives who might like to chat? To my mind, it's one of the key parts of the Gerry Anderson universe. Number two, that's it. I did have something else I thought of, but I've forgotten it.
Oh, well, he did say to keep it short.
Jamie, I tweeted you over the summer with a picture of me in a swimming pool with my inflatable TB1. Yes, you did. You might like to know it came second in our holiday inflatable competition, only just being beaten by my friend Katie's large inflatable chocolate digestive biscuit. A travesty.
That's the picture I want to see.
Yeah, where's that? Come on, Nigel.
on.
Get to the programme. To reiterate, podcast is brilliant. I hope you both have enough energy and material for many more.
Well, we're all hoping that.
Well,
Nigel.
can't guarantee both. Nigel,
Are you reticent, Jamie?
No, I'm not at all. Look, the problem with doing something like Barry Gray is his stuff is the music, right? So it's all about the sound and the music. We can't play that music on the podcast because to do so we'd have to pay a huge license fee, and we just can't do that. So it kind of feels a bit weird to go Barry Gray, and Barry Gray did this amazing thing and this amazing music and not play any of it. So it's very difficult. Now there is, I think, an archive interview with Barry which I'm trying to get hold of. So we will definitely talk about it, but I just find it really difficult to talk exclusively about the music when we can't play any of it.
Yes, I mean we'd love to, wouldn't we? Because of course they are so much a part of the programmes, those wonderful theme tunes. But
So
just can't be
we'll
done.
try and find a way, but that's why, Nigel. So no reticence on my part, just a realisation that it's going to be blooming difficult to do.
Yeah, that's right. And in the meantime, we really do want to see a picture of Katie's large inflatable chocolate digestive
I
biscuit.
mean, that's the key thing that's come out of this listener's email, isn't it, really?
Well, out of the whole podcast, really, so far, to be fair.
If you've got an interesting inflatable photo you'd like to share with us, please do email it to...
Now, you could be getting yourself into an awful lot of trouble there, Jamie, couldn't you?
Possibly.
Yeah.
Give me a giggle on the emails anyway.
Yeah, it certainly would. And finally, we have another fantastic audio clip. We love it when you send your audio files to us, questions and comments. And this one is from Michael from the Tin Dog podcast. So let's hear what Michael has to say.
Hello, Richard, and of course, your mate. You asked for audio feedback? Well, here you are. I just wanted to share my journey home from work using my lovely hands-free audio kit. My name's Michael, I'm host of the UFO Cast and the Tin Dog podcast, but that's not important. What is important is that I wanted to ask Jamie about his time on Lavender Castle and at Cosgrove Hall, and what his memories were of hanging around production. Because my mate John used to work in the same model making department, and he's got memories of a slightly younger Jamie working on the show. And that's where I met Jamie's dad while I was working on the next show at Cosgrove Hall. So I never got to meet Jamie, but I did get to meet his dad for a little bit. I remember him walking into the model making room and laughing and saying, yes, technology moves on all these years, but one thing that doesn't change is that the model maker's room is still a bunch of blokes sitting in a room wearing jeans and covered in dust. So anyway, regardless of whether you want to plug the UFO cast or not, I'll say farewell and thanks for bringing us a brilliant podcast every week. So until next time, be seeing you.
Thank you very much, Michael.
Yes, thank you, Michael. How lovely.
Yes.
Great to hear from you.
And nice
Lavender
to
Castle, then.
hear how small the world is with these connections to Cosgrove Hall and various bits and pieces.
That's right.
Well, Lavender Castle, funnily enough, McKinnon and Saunders mentioned it in their interview last week. Ian and Peter remembered me, perhaps not fondly, doing some work experience at Cosgrove Hall when Lavender Castle was being made. Just going onto the stage and seeing all of the beautiful sets, because it's all Rodney Matthews designed. It's kind of got a fantasy steampunk edge to it, and for a preschool show, which are normally primary colours, smooth surfaces, simple shapes, to see, I think they had the deck of Short Fred Lead's galleon, space galleon there, and it was just beautiful. And the Paradox, which was their spaceship, which was a flying thatched cottage,
Yeah.
Just stunning model work. And
Wow.
I mean, if you've not seen Lavender Castle, you're going to think that we've suddenly slipped into the Twilight Zone.
Yes, yes.
It was a Gerry Anderson sci-fi preschool show from the late 90s.
Yeah,
I
indeed.
think lots of the episodes are on YouTube, so go and check it out. It's sweet, it's beautiful, it's quite fun. But yeah, very happy memories, and I had a great week in the model shop painting my very own Sproggle.
Hey, well, we've all been there, Jamie.
Sproggle was the character who was a navigator.
Yeah.
Really lovely little sculpt, kind of blue and green alien.
Yeah.
And they gave me the instruction sheet about how to paint them, and it actually came out really well. I think a fan, bought that
Great.
model
Really?
at some point in the past. Somebody approached me a little while ago and said, "Did you know I've got your Sproggle?"
I know, but you arm it and I'll play it.
So,
amazing.
Very happy memories. Lovely little place. And somewhere I've got a VHS of the end of shooting party video,
Wow.
which is basically filled with filthy, inappropriate gags.
Of course.
Mostly fart related. Very funny though. Maybe we'll get that transferred and show it at an event at some point.
Yeah,
It's quite fun. Anyway, if you haven't seen Lavender Castle, go and check it out. I think you can still get the DVD on Amazon and various other places, but it's certainly
Yeah.
on YouTube. So
Yeah.
Go
That's
and have a
great,
look.
isn't it? So again, we got, Gerry Anderson's work, it sort of spans. We often talk about spanning generations and genres. So here we have a preschool show for very young children, and you set that aside, something like, Space 1999, UFO, sometimes dealing with very adult themes, quite bleak sometimes. He really did have a go at everything, didn't he?
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah,
You name
yeah.
it. And at the time, Lavender Castle was outrating Rugrats.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah.
amazing. I used to love Rugrats.
So, but it just didn't get the distribution it deserved.
Yeah,
So often
yeah.
is the case when you make these shows, you get the finance for it, which is a huge, long struggle. Then you end up with a distribution deal which maybe isn't the best one for that particular show, but you have to go with
Yeah.
it for various reasons.
Yeah.
And then
It's hamstrung.
all that effort and time and love goes in, and then, oh no.
That's it.
And that's exactly what happened to New Captain Scarlet. It's a
Right.
great shame. It makes me terribly sad when I look at all that work that's gone into those shows.
Yeah, absolutely.
And see what happened to them.
Yeah,
Anyway,
that's right.
look, there we go. There's your answer, Michael. Lavender Castle was lovely. Happy memories. And also, that was the time, Richard, I think I may have mentioned this to you before, on the drive back from Cosgrove Hall, when me and Dad stopped at the services, and I completed Harry Ramsden's challenge.
No, I don't think you have mentioned this before, Jamie. No, so go on.
Well, it would even stop an adult in their tracks, but bear in mind I was 12 or 13.
Yeah.
I think I must have been 12.
Yeah.
And it was a giant, about 18-inch long piece of fish.
Oh, yeah.
2 giant piles of chips the size of your head.
God.
A bowl, like a pudding bowl of mushy peas.
Oh,
And 8 rounds of buttered bread.
8 rounds. of
8
bread.
rounds, yeah. And a pot of tea. And you had to finish it within an hour to get your certificate. Obviously I did. Nailed it.
Hang on,
Nailed it.
You just got a certificate.
Yeah.
What, you didn't? You got the meal for free, I'm assuming.
No, you still had to pay for it.
What?
But I got a certificate, which
Wow.
I still got now. I'm very proud of.
Well, your dad must have been very proud of you as well.
I
Yes.
think he was proud and disgusted in equal measure.
As are we. Yeah, hearing that story again. Thank you for that.
Anyway, that's the end of the listeners' emails.
Now, we have got a few comments as well that have been left on YouTube, where I know Jamie posts our podcast. We've got Paul Hyde, who says, what in blue blazes is going on? There is nothing wrong with Joe 90. So you've upset someone there. You and Chris Packham, I think.
Well, sorry about that, Paul.
Ganging up
I mean,
on Joe 90. Now, we
yeah.
celebrated Joe 90 a bit in Fab Live, which was our Facebook broadcast from last week that you can still catch up on, where we were asking viewers to send in pictures of them in their Joe 90 glasses from back in the day.
Yes.
We were beating the bullies and reclaiming Joe 90 for ourselves, weren't we? So, it can be done.
So if you are a spec wearer, then you should
Yes.
let us know if you had any Joe 90 experiences
Yes.
as a kid. Not as in, you were adopted by a weird scientist who then made you go off on secret missions by putting strange
Yeah.
brain patterns into your mind.
Although, if that did happen to you, we would love to hear about
We would
that.
love to hear from you if that's the case. But no,
Yeah.
if you were called Joe 90 at school, whether it was in a good way or a bad way, let us know.
Yeah.
And if you liked or disliked Joe 90 when it originally came out in 1968,
Yeah.
let us know. I want to know because
Yeah.
Somebody told me a little while ago that when Joe 90 came out, there was a big article in like a sort of school's newspaper, and it was a really different approach, trying to engage the kids, being like, "Look, one of you's in this show now." So I just wonder what your feelings were at the time.
Yeah,
it's definitely mixed. You can't get away from the fact that you know, while something like Thunderbirds is almost universally loved, Joe 90 is a bit more divisive.
Yes, it is.
That's true. Anyway, look, it's Joe's 50th anniversary coming up in a couple of weeks' time.
Exactly.
So happy birthday in advance, Joe.
Yeah.
But still, we'd love to hear your opinions of Joe either way.
Yeah. Also, Pierre Fontaine left a message on YouTube, taking you to task a bit here, Jamie, again, I'm afraid. He said, if you keep making Pantone colour guesses, I'll keep checking them.
Oh, I see.
No.
This is Pierre who made me realise that I'd correctly guessed Thunderbird 2's colour.
That's right. And then you took a stab at the yellow for Thunderbird 4, didn't you? Yeah. Well, he says, FYI, Pantone 223B, which was your suggestion, is not yellow at all, but could be the perfect colour for Lady Penelope's Fab 1.
Oh, okay.
So quite by chance, you might have hit on the colour for Lady Penelope's Rolls-Royce.
Amazing.
So, in keeping with this fantastic new feature that we've accidentally stumbled across,
feature's a bit grand, Richard. It's not a feature.
Let me give you another craft from the Gerry Anderson universe. Okay, Thunderbird 3.
Well, I don't even know if that's red or orange, really, because people often argue. But
enough with the excuses.
Fine. Pantone 7579. There you go. How's
We've
that?
got 4 digits now, have we?
Well, I think they go into 4 digits sometimes. I don't really understand that. There's letters sometimes, there's more numbers sometimes. It probably doesn't even exist. There you go. 7579. Fine.
Over to you, Pierre. Do your work.
Go check. Thanks, Pierre. This is the most rubbish section of the show.
Oh, it's the best.
Let's get it over.
It's what people are tuning in for, week by week.
Okay, fine. Hope you enjoyed that.
Yes.
Right. If you have a more sensible question
not
about Pantone colours for the podcast, then just drop us an email, podcast@gerryanderson.co.uk. Drop us a tweet, anything like that, or comment on the YouTube videos, or even put it in a review, or that sort of thing, if you want.
Yeah.
But remember, screenshot your player and do post it to Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. Tag us in. We'd love to see that and see who's listening. Yeah, that would be great. So, well, I think it's time for part 2 of your wonderful mini documentary / interview with McKinnon and Saunders, don't you think, Jamie? Absolutely, yes. We've got a bit more from Kevin Silito, the workshop supervisor, some more from Ian and Peter and Sarah. And I think we cover kind of a little bit of their feedback and excitement about the minisode. Lovely. So here it is. If you haven't heard part 1 of this documentary, I would ask that you go back and have a listen. It's full of interesting stuff about how we began this process of creating the puppets for Gerry Anderson's Firestorm with McKinnon and Saunders. But here we are back again, and let's hand over to Ian and Peter. What's the puppeteer going to want? What's puppeteer going to do in this scenario? And trying to think, ahead of probably having a script or a storyboard, what the puppet might have to do on set, and so you make sure that you want to cover as many bases. It's not just got to stand there and do one action. It's got to have a variety of uses. So that's where it's good. Get together with the puppeteers, get together with the puppet makers, costume makers, and start planning all that out. Making some prototypes, find out what's working, throwing those in the bin. Are they sort of starting again? And they sort of, but I think with the live action sort of puppets, trying to keep the weight down and keep that sort of the user friendly on set, and durability as well. But I know these are going to be thrown around. There's lots of action sequences in Firestorm. There's lots of running around. How do we sort of keep the model as sort of as adaptable as possible for whether they're running around or jumping or just standing there talking to camera.
I think there's one of the other things which isn't kind of a specific problem we had with it, but it was the thing that it's the expectation that you have for an Anderson project. So there's widely recognised and truly loved style, the puppet making and the reality of it all, what have you. But I think there was this expectation that although we might pay homage to what had gone on before, it also had to be new and more sophisticated, because it's a new audience. It's a new audience who've been brought up on CGI effects movies, computer games. They perhaps don't have the kind of the affection for the original Anderson projects that I had growing up with them. But so there was, we kind of wanted to pay homage to what had gone on in the past, but also try and improve on it. And that's quite a presumptuous thing for us as puppet makers who specialise in stop motion to then say, well, we want to do what they did, but do it better. And we were talking earlier about the trailer, and I think I think there are things that we've kind of learned from that, and we would love to take it to the next stage and say, right, well, it wasn't, it kind of worked out fine, we got away with it, but it'd be really nice to do all those refinements and make it something really special, and I really hope that opportunity comes along.
Me too. I mean, people already find the puppets really engaging now, so if we can lift them another 5-10%, and
well, that's
wow.
it. And we always, I think, one of the fascinating things about, having been involved with this company, and it's a team effort. It's a big team effort. It's not down to any one individual. No one person makes a puppet from start to finish. We have sculptors, mold makers, painters, armature people, costume people. It's a big team effort. And I think one of the things that we always try and do is improve from project to project. And sometimes we'll work on a pilot, and maybe the following year that project may come off, but we want to make it better. Sometimes we've worked on some pilot for a feature film, which may happen now. 5 years after we did the original development work, and we're looking now to see if we can improve on that and bring in new technology, new techniques. So it's never a question of resting on one's laurels. It's always a question of, we did that, it was okay, but we've learned this, that, and the other from it, and it would be great to having learned those lessons, to then kind of improve and make it even better in future projects or in future episodes.
Yeah, but I think that's perfectly fitting with the Anderson history. That's what the teams were doing back in Century 21 days in the 1960s and through to Thunderbirds. That's what took it to Thunderbirds. That sort of attitude.
That was if you plotted it in the graph in terms of sophistication and quality, it's a straight upward line for sure, absolutely. But each was good in its own way and for its own time, and I think. But Gerry always wanted to progress, always wanted to get the next best thing, and I think he was, he led the field. Even though there was no competition, he led the field. I mean, that sounds daft, doesn't it? But the point I mean is he could have perhaps done Stingray and thought, we know it all now, and we're the best, we're the best at this, but he didn't. It was never. He always wanted to take it to the next stage, the next, level of excitement. Or sophistication, or technological sophistication. Yeah.
I think everybody on Firestorm's got that sort of.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's
everybody who's worked on it has.
Yeah, I think it's the teasers worked out really well, and it would be great if the series comes off, because there's I think there's a great deal more potential for it, and that's going to be fantastic and really exciting to see.
What do you think it is that's so special about puppets in general? Why are we not all doing CG stuff? Why does McKinnon and Saunders exist doing all this puppetry stuff when there are these amazing digital tools?
I don't know. Do you think it may be something from, from childhood? There's nothing like, like a Muppet or something, or a hand puppet. Kids love sock puppets. You can just put do it with my daughter, put your hand in a sock, and it's real, and everyone wants it to be real, and the natural movement of your hand and those human kind of reactions in the hand, and how the puppeteer is putting their soul into it as well. So, and it's sharing something across the board. I think. Yeah. Maybe breathing across the screen.
Yeah. Well,
from stage to.
It works on stage or screen, doesn't it? So
absolutely.
It's not just about the real 3D physicality of it. There's more to it.
No.
But yeah, I think it's the breathing consciousness into a lifeless object.
Yeah.
And then the imperfection of human movement. So I was thinking about the rods, like when we were filming, we were doing the mini-sode, if we were really tight up on one of the puppets' faces, there was just, as the puppeteers were breathing, there's just a tiny, tiny imperfection and a bit of rise and fall in the way they move. It just makes them look alive.
Yeah, I think when you have faults in a puppet, i.e. like maybe the paint or the fur or whatever finish or detail isn't perfect for a reason. It doesn't matter because people know it's not real. But the idea of putting a fault into a CG character is a bit strange to us, I think, because we still don't think anyone knows what an enjoyable fault would be in a CG puppet, really.
I love that. Yeah, that's a great little soundbite. That an enjoyable fault.
Yeah.
They're like positive imperfections.
Yeah.
It makes me think of that. The new Star Wars things where they had the CG Peter Cushing.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where they spent months doing like micro expressions in the face and the eyes and stuff, and little muscle twitches, and it still looked.
No.
It was beautiful, but it didn't look right.
So we know it's not good enough to do that, and we only wanted to see the back of Leia's head, didn't we, in Rogue or whichever one it was.
Yeah.
We didn't need to see her turn round because we all knew who it was.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, don't turn round.
It almost spoils it when you try too hard.
Yeah.
I'm going to play devil's advocate for a minute.
Yeah.
You mentioned CG.
Yeah.
I know my answer to this, obviously.
Right.
But I do occasionally hear it. CG is amazing these days. Why don't you just do it with CG? It'd be so much easier.
Yeah. Well, good question. Yeah.
And I don't think it is easy. And a lot of the processes, and it requires, it still requires animators. It requires, puppet makers and riggers. It might be in a digital world, but it still requires team and talent to, to produce CG and to produce it really well. But we've done, shows that incorporate CG elements into it, and that's happening more and more. It's you can't be afraid of it, but it's like, when is it appropriate, or when is it right for this particular storytelling? And and it comes, I suppose, down to who are the people behind telling those stories. What do they want to, what excites them about it that makes them want to actually, choose that medium. And if it's whether it's a Tim Burton who could do a film as a CG film or do his live action film, but why does he want to do Frankenweenie as a stop motion feature? It's sort of, I think people just, for Firestorm, it's that, and they sort of like, there's a reality to, and they sort of like to the Anderson sort of background, and just whether it's down to the simplicity of blowing something up, and they sort of like there are so many CGI movies that blow things up, but I get pretty cold watching them now. It just becomes another effect.
I think also, you've got to look at the new swathe of Star Wars films. They've actually gone back to now doing more physical effects, and this is that's a really big deal, because after the first 3 films came out, the second series of films were very CG heavy, and I'm probably say something very heretical here, but they're not the most loved of the Star Wars.
Peter, how could you say that? I mean, it's just
Jesus. Terrible. Our address isn't on our website.
You can expect dog poos with letterbox from a few Star Wars fans. No, nobody likes that trilogy.
Well, but the point is, when J.J. Abrams got involved with the most recent set, he wanted to get Phil Tippett back doing the stop motion. He wanted to get some of the creatures to be done using animatronics. Neil Scanlon has been working on those, and then they wanted to build more sets, and I think it shows. I don't know quite. It's almost indefinable what the difference is, but there is a difference, and I think you look at what something like Thunderbirds, and then you maybe look at a CG Captain Scarlet, and they're very different things, but there's something magical about the world that was created with the actual models, well, Captain Scarlet, Thunderbirds, whatever, and as good as the CGI Captain Scarlet was, it is only digital imagery where you somehow there's something kind of crazy and special about blowing up a model of a building. I mean, it's not all about explosions, obviously, but it's
a big part of it, though, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Let's face it, I don't think we would have watched Thunderbirds without the odd catastrophe going on and
it's part of
fire and explosions, what have you.
But all of those things have got a sort of a real world physical randomness to them. Kev described it as enjoyable imperfection, which I thought was quite a nice phrase. My favourite explosions on Thunderbirds were when a piece of debris would fly directly at the camera and just skim over the top. Those random bits. And I think I don't know what it is that's attractive about random and physical and tangible, but there's something.
Also, what you're capturing on set on the day, and the sort of the energy behind that, and they sort of it's really important. But I think if you're working digitally, there is that sort of option to go back there and I'll tweak this, I'll clean that up, and they sort of and they sort of and although these are sort of big sort of all of these mediums, they are a team effort, but it comes down to one or two puppeteers operating that puppet or animating that puppet. Then it comes back to then the performer, and they sort of some of the animators that swap between stop motion and the CGI world, and they sort of they find that they might be animating the entire character, but then someone else is doing the eyelids one day, and then someone else is doing the face, and then they end up just doing some of the body movement. It gets split down into so many parts that they lose that connection to the characters. When it's done really well, it looks it's obviously sort of seamless, but I think it's sort of there's a purity in sort of there's a couple of puppeteers or an animator working directly with the model, and it's captured on the day, and that's it. That's on film, and that's what you're going to get.
Yeah.
And they sort of it's as close to live action theatre. You can't go back and tweak things later on. You've committed to film, and that's it. So the director and the team are all there getting the absolute best they can on the day, which I think gives things a nice energy. Simon, we watched the little sort of the first episode with some of the guys in the workshop, and they sort of one of the puppet makers, Ruth, and they sort of was so excited watching it, but he was like, shit, I can't wait for Harley, that's her son, to see this. He's just at that age now where he's just growing out of twirly-woos and he's looking for more, and sort of he's getting slightly older, and she said, he's going to absolutely love this. And they sort of, there's, and the few people, that have kids in the workshop, sort of like, the kids are, it's something that's very different. It's a different offering that's, there's so much CG out there and some beautiful stuff, but and they sort of like, the puppet work and the reality of the sets and, his live action performances, I think is something that's going to, really sort of hold the audience.
And now you've seen the minisode, Kev.
Yeah.
I know obviously you're talking to me, so you're not going to be critical, but
Yeah.
what are your impressions of it, and where we might go with it? Do you think people are going to enjoy it?
I do. Yeah, it's missing, isn't it? We haven't got that now or anything like it at the moment, and I think that we've got a whole generation or two to catch up and see that and say, yeah, this is what we still need. Yeah, definitely.
People need puppets in their lives.
They do. Yeah. Like real puppeteered puppets.
Yeah.
You know, we had Thunderbirds and Muppets, and didn't we? So.
Or Terrahawks, if you were.
Terrahawks, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I think we've taken them to the next level. And were you happy seeing what the puppeteers have done with your work? Because you spent, how long do you reckon you spent from start to finish on that project?
It was a year and a half, wasn't it?
So 18 months of development time getting this puppets right.
Yeah.
So then how, did we do a good job? Did we show them off well?
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. No, everyone brings their children into it, and I remember the day we did that first set of tests we did with Richard Gregory, and I was right in the middle of my paternity leave, so I popped in for the day to join in on the testing, because it was important to me to do that, and then and now she's 3.5, so
wow.
So there we go. So and yeah, having seen all the little sneaky peeks all the way along the line, I'm getting more and more excited to see the real thing. Yeah, it was absolutely fantastic.
So the team's done a really good job. You've got a lovely team here.
We have. We must also mention Guy and Adam, who helped us with the head mechs. Yes.
Yeah. Kevin's mentioned we've got Guy and Adam in to do bits and pieces.
It was really good to have them work with us on it. Yeah. Learned a lot.
Yeah, I think it's been a big learning experience for everybody, hasn't it?
Will continue to be, I'm sure. Yeah, but it wouldn't be interesting if you didn't keep learning. And the number of times we crack a particular problem on a job, and you think, that's going to come in. You never ever get another thing like whatever that mysterious challenge was. But it's what makes it interesting, in the same way as when you first get a script or a brief for a puppet, it's trying to analyse what the client wants out of it and how you can do that and how you can try and do it on their budget. That's the boring bit. And also within a certain time frame, which is a lot of what I end up trying to wrangle for the clients, is to sort of manage that and the expectation.
The moment I walked into the sculpting area, I met Noel and Takashi, and Noel couldn't help but sing the praises of the Firestorm minisode, which was brilliant. I did have a quick chat with Takashi, but unfortunately, Takashi, you are so wonderfully softly spoken that I didn't pick up enough of our chat. But as Noel says in the chat with me, Takashi was responsible for 2/3 of the sculpts, Noel for the other third, but they both did the most fantastic job. So here's Noel.
I love working on, your dad's stuff. I've always loved that kind of stuff. So for us, the oddity was being able to go a bit bigger, because most of the time our work is quite small.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I guess even the first scale ones were.
First scale ones.
Larger than usual.
Well, yeah. Except it's like we used to do a series of iced tea ones.
Yeah.
So those ones are kind of. That was kind of standard for a good 7 years. We were doing a lot of human, and because of the stock frame joints and stuff that went inside them, it was a good size for that. But for yours, because it was live action with cables and everything, it just needed to go as big as we possibly could, But it worked brilliant. I don't know, I can't remember whether, Kevin, you were animating or whatever, but the running of the puppets looked amazing. Absolutely lovely.
Yeah, the running was particularly effective, wasn't it?
It was brilliant, and it made you smile straight away, It was just like your dad's show when... you see, I'm just the right age, Jane. I was born in 1961, so I grew up with Five-Fire, Stingray, Thunderbirds, and I actually preferred those to Captain Scarlet. Captain Scarlet went, for me, just more realistic. So you had, real people could have played those roles. But for those first ones, especially like 5XR5, where you've got them floating in space doing all that stuff, it was brilliant. And as a kid, it just, one, you were awestruck, but it was also, it made you smile, And that's what your one's done. I think it was brilliant. I think your dad would be proud. I really think so.
And he's such a klutz, isn't he?
Sam.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. The puppeteers took great joy in between takes, putting on stupid voices.
Yeah.
And what did they say? They were Andrew Spooner, who was the puppet coordinator on that, kept doing a voice and going, I'm Captain Troy Handsome, and doing the face and stuff in the meantime, which is so sweet. But he has got that klutzy kind of look. But he's also a handsome, aspirational hero.
He is an action man, but my favourite thing is when he just kind of looks at her and goes, huh? What was this he said?
Really?
Yeah, really?
Explosives.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. And just to see what the heads could do with that kind of expression was very pleasing.
Yeah. Well, we had a lot of moments during that shoot where Steve, the director, would request something, the puppeteers would get together and go, I don't know, can we do that? And then we'd try something, and quite often a really unexpected little expression would come out, or a way of moving. And there's one that didn't quite make it, didn't make the cut, but where Nagisa says, oh, come on, let's go. And they got this amazing kind of deflated, oh, okay. Like the shoulders went up and fell, the chin dropped, and they're so expressive. And part of that's come from the scale, I think, because you can get more out of them, but part of it's come from the mechanism and the way that the freedom of their head movement and stuff is amazing.
Even the science fiction graphics, it married so well with the puppets. I honestly think you're on to a winner. Hopefully that will get taken up. Touch wood wherever
touch possible. Wood everywhere, yes, please touch wood. Oh, well, thanks, Noel. That's, awesome. And they look so great.
There were nice designs anyway, but quite honestly, what Takashi captured straight away with the three little ones was a similar style between the more realistic ones and, sorry, I have to point over here, but we've got some Thunderbirds heads, and it was getting somewhere in between, which I think worked absolutely brilliantly. Yeah. And I also liked that the heads were big again, and that, to me, it has the charm of the old shows, Yeah. So.
Well, I think if you're going to work with puppets, they're puppets. Trying to pretend they're human, because Dad wanted to work with live actors.
Yes.
That's one of the reasons, I think, one of the driving factors why Scarlett went to that realistic proportion.
And it still was brilliant. I was just at the age where it was dark, it was everything else that was great. But for me, I just loved the magic. It's like the Stingray. Probably the first girl I ever fell in love with was Marina, And you can't say it better than that. It was just a lovely show. And I think Pete Saunders would say the same, because we both said this about Marina.
He's a Stingray obsessive. He's already been telling me that as well.
Well, we both were, so really good.
Awesome. If you could compare what came before Thunderbird, Stingray, Captain Scarlet to this, do you think they share a sufficient amount of DNA and spirit that they can both be called Gerry Anderson?
Yes, because it's exciting and it's adventurous, but it's also really funny, but not in an out-and-out comedy way. It's just, you can't. I was amazed at how exciting it is when you watch the minisode, and yet it also really makes me laugh as well. And I think people warm to that. A lot of the movies that are on the moment, they are quite tongue-in-cheek, even though they're quite fantastical or sort of action films. There's a lot of that, and I think it lightens the mood, and it also makes it more acceptable because they are puppets, and if you've been a bit too serious with them. That was the joy of Team America, wasn't it? They got props made of cheese graters and stuff like that, and they made no attempt whatsoever. And yet there were some quite serious things going on in that film underneath the craziness on the top.
Yeah, I think it's important that if you're going to have something serious and darker, that there's a little bit of a thread of comedy to give it a bit of levity, but not to take away. They've got to coexist. Comedy can't get the better of the action and stuff. Yeah. You mentioned the cheese grater, like the lemon squeezer in Thunderbird 1's launch bay.
Was there?
Yeah, that's the famous thing that's in the back there. Everybody goes, oh, look at that, that's so rubbish. But I purposefully included a well-known consumer product in the middle of one of the sets for that very reason, as a homage to, which nobody's pointed out yet, actually.
We'll have another look. We'll find it.
Yeah, we've cut around it quite carefully, so it's not too obvious. But
it stands out. It's got a unique look to it in a day and age where so many things are done with CGI, and when you go to the big TV and film markets in Cannes, and you walk down through the main hall, there's just mile after mile of CG programs, for kids, for teenagers, and after a while they all start to merge one into another, and I think you've got basketball come on, and suddenly it's very different. It kind of it's got CG in it, as most things do have nowadays, but there's it's got a unique look to it as well, and yes, it's kind of harks back to Anderson films from a different era, but it's also it's got a level of sophistication which is new and I think can be built upon. So, at the end of the day, we don't do CGI because we're people who come up honing our skills, working making puppets by hand and working with people who work in the kind of the physical world rather than the virtual world. But there's some fantastic CG projects done, and the films that Pixar do are incredible. They really are incredible. So it's not that we don't appreciate digital stuff, but it's I think there's place in the world for both types of things, the virtual and the real.
And maybe a slight lack of the real currently.
There is, yeah.
So it's a good time. A good time for Firestorm.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, the world's always under threat. Yeah, so and they sort of we need the heroes to save us.
Yeah, we will have to have slagged off the Star Wars films.
Because I'll let you go, Kevin. If you could summarise your Firestorm puppet making experience so far, a positive one?
Oh, absolutely positive. Yeah.
Any highlights?
Highlights. I think it was being introduced to the wigs when Sheila Smith, our wig specialist, when we took some of the sort of spec to her for what we needed in hair, and she was very excited to deliver. And when those wigs would turn up, it was that was very exciting to see a kind of 2/3 adult wig that was to be fitted, or a beard or something, some sort of merkin.
Yeah, McKinnon's beard.
And I think when Sam first had his wig fitted, we took him to a hair salon in Altrincham, and he sat there in front of the mirror with a team of hairdressers cutting normal people's hair, while Sam was sitting there having his hair done. I think that's a highlight.
I've got the video of that. Was that you that took that?
Yeah.
We're doing a little tour around.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice thing to see. He had a lot of hair then.
He did, didn't he? Yeah.
It was pretty long.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's been trimmed down quite a bit since then.
Yeah. So I think times like that were good, and getting him together for the first time. I think that, I say, the little kind of dialogue that Dave and myself did with him when his head was, he's a real working head. It was on a body for the first time, and we got him alive, semi-alive anyway, for the first time was a highlight. It's like, yes, we're getting there.
That was very cool. There's been a few steps like that. Seeing the sculpt for the first time, the movement test day.
Yes, that was good.
Test, and then getting them on set. All those felt like real milestones.
Yeah.
And you've been there for most of them.
Yeah. I think Ken's guns were great as well.
Yeah.
Seeing those for the first time were were very, very cool as well.
Yeah.
It's something that I think that most people here at McKinnon and Saunders would have liked to have been involved with the guns, but seeing how he did that and how he does that, it's like, wow, that's a whole different.
Yeah, Kenny is a pretty awesome. I mean, he's Mr. Hollywood props, really, and his attention to detail and the fine work he does is pretty cool. And he wants to go even further. Those gauntlets were supposed to have micro LED displays in and all sorts of stuff, which he's already trying to do now.
Yeah.
So that'll be even better.
Thank you for asking us to work on your project.
Great pleasure. Thanks for working on it.
It was, like I said, it was very much out of our comfort zone, but I think everybody who was directly involved with it really enjoyed it, and and I think there was it's probably not too much to say that there was kind of a lot of love went into that project. I think not just from the people here, not from our team here, but from what I've heard from the filming of it as well, and people who helped build the models and did the explosions and the puppeting and filming and what have you, that everybody kind of put something of themselves in it, and that's lovely when that happens. That's really, really lovely when that happens, and I think that comes through, and if there's a God in heaven, then it should go into a series.
Fingers crossed. So there you go. Thank you very much to everybody at McKinnon and Saunders. You looked after me marvellously, fed me with lots of tea and sandwiches, and it was brilliant. I had a great time. It's so nice to see the gang there, and to see, after all this time, after several years of development work with them, that enthusiasm for Firestorm is at an all-time high. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did or didn't, just let us know. If you want to hear more of this sort of stuff, drop us an email, podcast@gerryanderson.co.uk. And now back to Jamie and Richard. They are such lovely people, aren't they?
Yes, they seem very welcoming. Did they?
And
really
they wasted
not mind
all that time with me.
That's right. Did they not have anything else to do?
They gave me sandwiches. I had 5 cups of tea while I was there.
Great.
It was really nice.
5
And
cups of tea.
I took them some Marks and Spencer's M&S biscuits, you see, to McKinnon and Saunders M&S.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah,
clever, eh?
God, that's really good, Jamie. We're very impressed.
We ate almost the whole pack.
Nice.
It was
I'm
great.
sure. You say we.
Well, I mean me and Ian and Peter
you?
and Sarah. No, I only had about
Jamie.
3. I have to say, Ian was very keen on those biscuits.
Was he?
So yeah. Nothing wrong with that though. They're lovely biscuits.
No, absolutely. But yeah, you're right. How lovely to hear from people who are still beavering away on other projects, working on Firestorm. I mean, they're right at the top of their game even now, aren't they? Which is fantastic.
Oh yeah, they're very busy. But it was just lovely walking around the workshop and seeing bits of Thunderbird stuff, Captain Scarlet, and Firestorm stuff everywhere.
Yes.
They still had moulds on shelves. There was a partial Commander McAllister face where they'd done a paint test.
Nice.
It was just bits everywhere, and that's partly down to the fact that they're really proud of the association. So that's
fantastic.
Lovely.
And the great thing is, for some lucky people, they'll get to see that stuff in action on October the 27th.
They will.
At the Firestorm premiere.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Can't wait to see them there.
No, absolutely right.
Lots more Firestormy stuff to come, because we're doing some Firestorm related material most weeks now in the run up to that premiere.
Yeah.
But a lot of the people who've worked on Firestorm have also worked on previous Anderson stuff, like McKinnon and Saunders. So it's a nice bit broaching the old and the new.
Yeah, that's lovely. That's fantastic. And remember, you can hear all our previous interviews on our previous podcasts. You can find them on Stitcher, on iTunes, on the Gerry Anderson website. You can find them all over the place. You've got the likes of Sophia Miles, Lisa Mazimbo, Gary Newman. We've got Chris Packham, of course, Sophie Aldred, David Graham, who's a royalty, really, in Anderson circles. So lots of big names there. You can find them all on previous podcasts.
And let us know who's your favourite.
Oh, yeah.
Because do you know who I think is the front runner in terms of number of downloads so far?
Oh, I would have thought it would be Chris Packham, wouldn't it? That one went down a storm.
Well, if you add Chris's episodes together, then yes. But actually, in the number 1 and number 2 slot, the top 3 are actually Gary Newman, Lee Sullivan, and Sophia Miles.
Oh, wonderful. That's great. Yeah.
Lee Sullivan is very proud of that fact.
I'm sure he is. Yeah, coming second only to Gary Newman. That's fair enough, isn't it?
It's Lee's only claim to fame.
That's great. So do remember, you can subscribe to us on whichever platform you're listening. You can rate and review us, please, and do share with your friends. Take a screenshot and tweet it, and hashtag us Gerry Anderson Podcast. That'd be lovely.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I think it's time we go over to Chris and the Randomizer, don't you, Richard?
I think you might be right.
Okay, well, here he is.
Oh boy, this is more fun than I ever imagined it could be. I've always wanted to fly one of these. Oh, hello everyone. Well, you join us today aboard one of my very favourite Gerry Anderson vehicles. Moonbase Alpha have very kindly loaned me one of their Eagles, and I'm currently getting to grips with the controls. Oh, this is so cool! What's that, Marina? Oh, yes, you're right. It looks like there's another craft closing with us. I'll just slow down enough to get us a better look. Yes, unless I'm very much mistaken, it looks rather like a Swift. Oh dear, that can only mean... Brian, how lovely to see you. Are you well?
I'm fine. I'm just donkey dog. I really am. You know, it's really nice to see you.
Yes, I wish I could say the same, Brian, but unfortunately, I've seen the episode you were in. Marina, grab your staple gun.
I'm not gonna harm you.
Oh, so am I to gather you're a reformed character since you left Moonbase Alpha?
Oh, how do you do? Yeah, I'm sorry I can't shake hands. I haven't got a hand, but you can pat me if you like. Well, go on.
Marina, please don't encourage him. Brian really is very dangerous, even if he does have a smiley face.
Oh, will you take a look at that trolley? Yellow plastic wheels.
Oh, no, that's the randomizer. That's very valuable. Please don't touch that.
Oh, hey, look, your computer's the same as mine. You know, him and me, we are compatible.
Really? So, if I were to ask you to operate the randomizer this week, do you think you could persuade it to give us an episode from a series we've not yet seen? We are on a bit of a roll with those at the moment, actually.
I guess so.
I wouldn't get your hopes up, Marina. I don't trust this overgrown slot machine for a moment.
Hurrah, slot machine, you plastic pin brain, you!
Okay, sorry, I apologise. Right, let's see. Well, Brian, an interesting choice of series.
Yeah, well, I like that.
And once again, it is one that we've not yet seen an episode from. Right, watch this, Marina. He's just done something nice for us. Now he has to do something terribly evil.
Can I have lunch with you?
Okay, maybe he really has turned over a new leaf. Look, Marina, this isn't a very long episode. Why don't you go on ahead with Brian, and I'll join you in about 10 minutes, okay?
And it's okay. I'll keep the ladies safe for you. Right, this way, huh? Oh, these doors are so narrow. I like you very much.
Oh, being out here alone has finally driven that poor robot completely insane. Right, as I said, it is a short episode this week. It's time for our very first visit to Four Feather Falls in Once a Lawman.
The 4 feathers on this hat are magic. They enable Tex Tucker's dog and horse to speak, and his guns to fire without him even touching them. And now, another exciting adventure from Four Feather Falls.
I let that intro play in full because I don't know how many people listening to this will actually be familiar with Four Feather Falls. This is Gerry's the third puppet show that Gerry was involved with. The very first that he himself created, because on The Adventures of Twizzle and Torchy the Battery Boy, those shows had been created by Roberta Lee. This was Gerry's first show of his own, which came from an idea actually by composer Barry Gray of a puppet western series. I should be honest right up front and say I have only seen the show through once. And I do regret that because I remember it being a lovely show. I had a few episodes on tape before they came out on DVD, and I watched those 3 over and over. But most of the series I'm rather unfamiliar with, so it'd be interesting to see what goes on here.
Dusty, Rocky, quick!
Well, straight away we are into full-on horse chases and shootouts.
What's the use?
Oh, okay. Oh, don't give up now. I was enjoying that.
Oh, I'm sorry, old boy. I was doing my best.
I know you were, old-timer. Now, come on. We'd better get back.
You'll get 'em, boss. Don't worry.
Sorry, Dusty, but I reckon anyone in my place will be worried.
Say, you think it was the Boise gang?
Sure it was.
Any idea where they're operating from?
Nope, none at all. Reckon I'm worse than useless.
Oh.
No one could have done more than you have.
Yeah, we love you, Tex.
That Boise mob is still running loose, robbing and stealing. Why, I reckon the last few weeks just about everyone around here has been robbed.
Yeah, you're right there, boss. The bank's been raided 3 times in 2 weeks.
Folks in Four Feather Falls is feeling mighty sore just now.
God, we've arrived with a very dark opening in this episode. Everyone seems to suddenly hate Tex, which I actually seem to recall was a fairly regular thing with them.
They had too much of a start. They outran me.
Just like that, eh? And they get away with 5,000 in gold.
I'll get 'em.
Yeah, the people of this town seem to turn against Tex Tucker fairly regularly, and it's kind of unfair because he is the only lawman in town
If the whole town isn't robbed of everything they possess by then.
Hold it, Marvin.
with no backup, aside from his horse and his dog. I don't actually remember if the rest of the town know that the horse and dog can talk or not.
That's your opinion.
And the opinion of all decent citizens in this town.
In that case, the town had better find someone else to wear this star.
Maybe.
Oh, no.
That wouldn't be a bad idea at that.
So Tex has taken off his badge. He's done.
Yeah, you can see. That is exactly how we all feel.
Oh, poor Tex.
I guess there ain't nothing for it. Come on, Dusty. Rocky.
Now, something that people who don't know this show may be surprised to hear is that the voice of Sheriff Tex Tucker here is being provided by Nicholas Parsons.
You can't just go off like this.
And when you say that to people,
Time I moved on.
The town needs you.
it's hard to imagine, for people who are used to seeing and hearing Nicholas Parsons in a sort of game show host mode or comedy show mode, that he can actually he can actually act. But he is a really good fit for this character, and
It offends my sense of fairness.
some of you may know it all happened by accident because his wife at the time, Denise Breyer, was cast in the role of Ma Jones and various other characters, and Nicholas was just reading in parts for her to act off of, and he got the part of Tex from that. He's a really good fit, and I don't know how much more serious acting work he did. I know he was in Doctor Who: The Curse of Fenric, and similarly he was brilliant in that. Also, the Terrahawks audios, Sail of the Galaxy, where he was sending up a lot of his old game show personas.
What do you want, Red Scout?
I'd be interested to see if he did more drama stuff, straight drama, because he's very good at it.
He's dangerous, Joe. Him no more sheriff. Thrown out of Four Feather Falls.
What? Hey, you sure of this?
Red Scalp see with own eyes.
Now, the main villains of Four Feather Falls were
What are you thinking, Joe?
a pair of criminals, Pedro and Fernando, I think. Again, it shows I haven't seen the show for a very long time, but we also had 2 other secondary villains.
You're out of your mind.
Big Ben, I think, this chap here, and Red Scalp, sort of Red Indian who's kind of gone off on his own to do nasty things. I don't remember ever seeing them kind of team up as they have done in this episode.
Yeah, Dusty?
Which I suppose is quite interesting. It might be quite unusual for this show.
What? Heinz Band? Well, you can't go there. That ain't no place for a lawman.
You forget, old-timer. I ain't a lawman no more.
There he is.
That's a very familiar David Graham baddie voice there as well. I seem to recall that... Oh, that's a fairly fairly nasty crack on the head that Tex just got there. He's been lassoed, pulled off the horse, and thrown against some rocks. That looked quite nasty. Yeah, it seemed to be the villains in Four Feather Falls, the guest villains, were always played by the same few puppets.
You'll find out. Meantime, I'll just relieve you.
which I suppose was a forerunner to things like Thunderbirds and Captain Scarlet, where you would have the same puppets being reused. I didn't remember it so much in Four Feather Falls. So
That's civil of you. But one don't need to tie me up for that.
And they don't look too bad. I think with Four Feather Falls, whenever I see it, I'm always surprised that it looks as good as it does. The puppets are, by and large,
Come to think of it, I've been wanting to
generally more impressive than a lot of the guest puppets in Supercar. I think if you were to ask people who didn't know which show was made first, this or Supercar,
How do we know you're on the level?
I generally think this, in terms of the characters, looks the better show. Certainly, obviously, Supercar has the whole technical aspect of it, which this show doesn't. But neither is it the sort of just puppet draped in front of a background doing cutesy things that Twizzle and Torchy were about.
Tex Tucker.
Sure do.
Tex is gonna be riding with us.
You're crazy. Just as well ride with a rattler. I told you not to talk to Joe like that. I tell you. Plug him while you got...
And here we have another scene of David Graham having an argument with himself. Oh, now he's pulled a gun on himself. He's very talented, that man.
Knocking off Tex Tucker. Not for you or anyone else. Don't try and stop me, Joe, or you'll get it too.
Sorry, Joe, but I don't like being shot at.
That's okay. And just for the record, you're in.
Thanks, Joe.
All right, Ben.
Oh, so Tex is now joined up with the bad guys. Is he pretending, or is it all true? Well, what do you think? Of course he's only pretending.
Right. Now we can go. I'll be glad when this load's safe in the bank.
If it's going to be safe. The bank just isn't safe anymore.
Well. Maybe the new sheriff will do something about that.
Well, what's wrong with the old one, if you ask me?
Oh, let's not argue about that. It's time we moved off.
Yeah, whenever the town of Four Feather Falls turned against Tex, you could always rely on certain characters like Grandpa Twink and Ma Jones and Dan Morse were the three who would generally stick by him, I think, whereas the others tended to be fairly dim and just distrust him until he proved his worth, and they respected him again until the next time things went wrong and they immediately blamed him.
We have no intention of deserting, no matter how much we disapprove.
Look at them cases.
Yeah, each one loaded with gold.
Here we go.
I'm looking now, and this is a night scene where the baddies are about to accost a wagon coming out of Four Feather Falls that's loaded with gold. I'm just looking at the starry backdrop. It's really beautiful. I know it's an odd thing to mention, and it points to me not actually looking at the action on screen, but that's a really beautiful backdrop. And again, as I said about this being such a well-made show, it's just another level of progress beyond what they were doing with Twizzle and Torchy previously. There's even clouds in that sky. It's lovely.
Hold your fire. You ain't got a chance.
Yeah, you'll have to come and get us first.
Hold it. Hold it and stop the shooting. I'll plug the next man that fires.
Yay, go Tex.
So, it's a double cross, eh, Tucker?
You dirty low-down.
Button your lip. Drop your guns, everyone.
What I love about this as well is that it's a kids show in every sense of the word, but it's not overly kiddie. It's not overly cute. When there's a shootout, there's a proper shootout, and people are having guns blown out of their hands and everything. I think probably of all the black and white puppet shows, the Gerry Anderson ones, this is probably the one that is the most underrated. I would love to see this be remade, actually. I think this would be a really good fit for 21st century kids TV, to have something set in the past like this. And these are all really nice characters as well. They may be stereotypes, they may be a bit one note, but they're all very pleasant.
But in any case, you should have realized, once a lawman, always a lawman.
And that brings us to the end of Once a Lawman. I enjoyed that, yes. It was a shame there was no song from Tex actually in that episode. I much like with Supercar, I do feel like I've kind of let this show down by not looking at it more often, because I don't think there's anything bad in this show really. It's only 12 minutes per episode. It's just the right length for a nice little children's story. A nice little look at the past of Gerry Anderson and promises for the future. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, thank you, Chris.
It's so cute, Four for the Fools, but I don't know. I never feel like there's a huge amount of substance to it.
Yes.
But I guess that's partly down to its age, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. A different form of sort of storytelling, really, in those days, wasn't it? But very, very sweet and lots of bags of charm, really.
Yeah.
And of course, the voice of Nicholas Parsons.
Yeah, lovely Nicholas Parsons, who also, as Chris mentioned, played Nickel Plate Starsons in Terrahawks Sail of the Galaxy. And Richard, you joined us for that recording, didn't you?
Yes, I did. So I was lucky enough to meet Nicholas Parsons. In fact, I met him very briefly at the first Andacon in Heathrow in 2014. But then, yes, you're right. You very kindly asked me along to the Terrahawks recording on the one day that Nicholas was free. I don't think there were any other cast available on that day, so I...
It was him, Denise Breyer.
That's right.
And you recording for Sail of the Galaxy with you reading in very kindly for the rest of the cast.
That's right.
No easy task.
No, absolutely. But
and then we recorded your Terrahawks your Terrahawks minisode, I suppose.
Well, I suppose we could call it that, yes. Vile, that's right, where I played Jeremy Vile. All of which, of course, is available for download. I think Vile is free, in fact, on the Big Finish website.
Yeah, in fact, if you just type in Terrahawks Vile into Google, you'll see there's a free download link and you can hear Richard's episode.
And my Jeremy Kyle impression, yes.
In fact, you know what we could do, Richard?
What's that?
We could tack Vile onto the end of this podcast.
Well, there's a bonus. Well.
Yeah? Should we do that?
Yes, why not?
Okay, fine. So when this podcast is over, do listen all the way through.
Yeah.
And you'll hear a free episode of Terrahawks Vile starring our very own Richard James.
Fantastic. Well, there's incentive to stay listening if ever I heard one. Also, we have another comment from YouTube from Megan, who said that she recently read your article, Jamie, which was about the importance of puppetry, I believe.
The perpetual power of puppetry, yes.
Exactly. Love the mentions of your dad and my other great puppet hero, Jim Henson, she says. By the way, Joe 90 may remind me of my godson, but I'm with Jamie and Chris. Get rid of it. I mean,
hang on, no. We didn't say we should get rid of it. The question was, if you had to erase. It wasn't if you if you'd like to. It was
Megan's very firmly put her, set out her stall there. Just get rid of it.
Okay, fine. Well, I don't think we should do that. I told you I'm growing to love Joe. In fact, Richard.
Yes.
No, our listeners can't see, but you can see me. Hang on.
Yes.
Look what's on my desk.
What's this? Well, that looks like Joe 90 Blu-ray.
No, it's not the Blu-ray. It's the DVD set.
Oh, okay. Well, I couldn't
wish
see
it was. I wish I got a preview Blu-ray, but no.
Yeah.
So look, it's on my desk. It's in my life.
I have to say, still in its cellophane wrapper.
Richard. Okay, fine. Thanks for dropping me in it, Richard. I do have an open one actually. But
do you? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I had 3. You see, anyway.
Excuses.
I don't hate Joe 90 that much. I just don't like Joe. That's the problem. No. Right. Anyway, Richard, I think that's it, isn't it?
Well, I think that's enough, isn't it, to be going on with?
It's definitely enough.
Yes.
Probably
really
too
is.
much. and a bumper thing with the McKinnon and Saunders documentary and a free episode of Terrahawks coming up any second now.
Absolutely. Stay on this channel.
Oh, nice.
See what I did there? Isn't that great?
It's almost like you've watched Terrahawks or had some awareness of it.
In the meantime, do remember to head over to the Firestorm pages for some fantastic Firestorm news to keep up to date with all that's happening in the brilliant world of Gerry Anderson's Firestorm. And those pages are, Jamie?
Firestorm HQ on Facebook and Instagram, SF9 Firestorm on Twitter, and jerryanderson.co.uk/Firestorm.
Excellent. And please do get in touch with us. podcast@gerryanderson.co.uk. Send us all your comments, thoughts, and audio files. We always love to hear your audio files. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review, and share this podcast. That would be very kind.
And do
if
my
you did
little
that.
screenshot bit, if you don't mind, too.
Yeah. Grab
We'd love
a
to see those
screenshot.
coming up.
Yeah, it'd be great. And, stay tuned for your free episode of Terrahawks Vile.
Here it is.
Terrahawks, stay on this channel. This is an emergency.
Right, 1, 2, 1, 2, right. Okay, right, well, here we are. Hello, audience. I said, hello, audience. Oi, you lot. Right, great. If I could have everybody's attention, please. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dull scum and students, as I'm sure you're all aware, we are about to witness a moment in history. Dr. Tiger Einstein and Zelda, Queen of the Planet Guck, have agreed to take part in this, televised forum to, once and for all, settle their differences. In the interests of fairness, the show will be overseen by an impartial adjudicator. So, now for a big introduction to the man of the evening. The only man who could oversee this historic moment, the man who is, single-handedly, fixing society with his own brand of common sense. Put your hands together for the one, the only, I can tell you're excited because you already know who it is, Mr. Jeremy Vile!
All right. Hi. Hello. Nice. Thank you very much indeed. Good morning, and as ever, a big welcome to my show. Now, our guests today are here to see if I can help them put to bed a long-standing and violent conflict that has threatened to tear the universe itself apart. The Jeremy Vile Show is all about helping to settle disputes of all sizes, and as you know, it's my personal mission to sort out society one conflict at a time. A few years ago, a colony on Mars was quote-unquote attacked by forces then unknown. Since that time, Earth has been at war with, from what I can tell, a single-parent family from the planet Guck. First up on the show is the man who declared that war and who claims that he has all the answers. Welcome, Dr. Tiger Einstein, to the show.
Now, you just wait a moment.
Welcome to the show, Tiger.
Show?
I must say you're looking very nervous for a so-called hero. Is it true you have something to hide?
What? No. It's just that I didn't realize this was going to be televised.
You're kidding me, right? This is the Jeremy Vile Show.
I'm sorry, I'm afraid I've never seen your show.
You've never seen the show? What? You've been living underground or something?
Something like that. It was my understanding that I was being led here to undergo important negotiations with Zelda.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The Queen is on her way as we speak. But first, I'd like to talk about you. You see yourself as the man the universe depends on, right?
Right.
The big man of the hour, right?
Yes.
Well, just let me get a word in edgeways here. It's called the Jeremy Vile Show. Now, is it not actually the case that Zelda's problem is with you personally?
Well...
And that if it wasn't for you, this war would have been over 30 blooming years ago.
Flaming thunderbolts, if you think a galactic conflict can be simplified to that extent... I don't think we have much to discuss.
Oh, you're going to run away then, are you? big man. Why don't you confront your problems rather than resorting to violence? Give me 15 minutes in a room with you, Zelda, and Greg, our fully unlicensed psychiatrist, and we'll have this cleared up in no time.
Look, I appreciate that you want to see a better world. It's the same world that I want to see, but you have to understand, we are dealing with the biggest single menace that the Earth has ever faced.
That's very interesting, Dr. Neinstein, and I would agree with you, but isn't the biggest threat this planet has ever faced not in fact Zelda, but you, the man who won't let it go?
I don't have time for this. Sergeant Major. Sir, yes, sir. We're leaving.
I have to say, Dr. Neinstein, I really admire your balls.
We is Zeroids, actually.
Of course you are.
And I is here to speak up on behalf of Dr. Neinstein, who I thinks you is being rather unfair to. I just want to say, Dr. Neinstein is an employer that I is glad to serve.
Employer? Oh, so he pays you, does he?
Well, not exactly, no.
But you're free to leave at any time?
No. But what I mean to say is that the good doctor is what you might call a no-nonsense person. If he thinks you is useless, he will let you know.
So you feel included in the organisation?
Oh, yes, sir. You know, last Christmas, he even invited us Zeroids to join the humans in decorating the tree. We was the baubles.
Right.
So you sees, at the end of the day, underneath that cold, heartless exterior is, well, a cold, heartless interior. But under that, there is, well, something. Sergeant Major. Sir, yes, sir. Don't help me. Understood, sir.
Slave labour Zeroids? Murdering clones? What's next? Brainwashing 9-year-old children to send on dangerous undercover missions? It seems like you should worry about getting a handle on your men before worrying about saving the universe, Doctor.
You can say what you like about me, but at the end of the day, my team is one of the finest set of professionals ever assembled. They are absolutely the best defence this planet has.
If your team loves you so much, why isn't Captain Falconer here to defend you? Or is yours another organisation where the women don't speak?
If you mean to suggest...
I think it's time we heard from another member of your team.
No, I think it's time I was leaving. Sergeant Major. Sir, yes, sir. What's the fastest way out of this dump? Oh, that's easy, sir. What in Spacefire?
Good evening, sir.
Hey! You ruined my set! What's the meaning of this?
I think this is what you call car crash television, sir.
You know, I think you're right. Our ratings will go through the roof. Well, on with the show.
No, we're leaving.
Oi! Nobody gets out of the Gerry Vile show without taking my lie detector test.
Well, I do, and if that vicious old hag Zelda does show her face...
Oh, the family guck, ladies and gentlemen.
That's my mummy you're talking about.
All right, mate, calm down. Anger isn't the way to deal with these things.
My sister wouldn't hurt a fly.
Guten Morgen, Herr Vile. We are big fans.
Flaming thunderbolts.
All right, you've had your turn. Where I come from, we let others have their say. So sit down and shut up. The people have spoken.
They're only doing what those cue cards are telling them to. I expected better of you, Dapples.
Sorry, Doc, but like a job's a job, right, isn't it?
Are you people really the reason I'm trying to protect the Earth from Zelda? Father Vile and his bleating flock?
So, mate, what's your side of the story?
I don't understand why Einstein hates us so much. All we want to do is take over the world and enslave its snivelling inhabitants.
Uncle?
I mean, we want...
peace.
Hang on. He's your uncle?
Yeah?
So your mother is his sister?
No, her name is Sister. Oh, but she is my mummy's sister.
Hang on. It-Star's mother is Sister, and Young-Star's mother is Zelda, and they're sisters? But It-Star calls Zelda Grandma and Young-Star Uncle.
Look, it is very simple. My mother is... She's, my God, he has a point.
Sounds pretty dysfunctional to me. What about your father, youngster?
Oh, well, actually...
You don't know your father, do you?
No, I never met him.
So you could be anybody's kid then?
Well, I suppose that's true.
Which means you could be Dr. Neinstein's.
What the? I thought we were here to work towards peace in our time.
Don't try to change the subject, mate. If you're not prepared to take the paternity test, then what have you got to hide?
That's not what I said. This is ridiculous.
Oh, is it? Then how do you explain this letter I received? Dear Jeremy, I am the single mother of a beautiful little boy of whom I'm very proud. Over the years, however, I've harboured a dark secret. I've always known the identity of my baby boy's father, and though I could never bring myself to tell him, he's also known that man for many years. My son's father is, in fact, my cursed clone nemesis, Dr. Tiger Neinstein. Please help me gain closure on your wonderful show. Love and kisses, Queen Zelda of Guck.
Daddy?
Sir, how could you? What in Spacefire is going on here?
All right. Now, just between you and me, mate. One straight question, right? Are you or are you not this child's biological father?
Biological father? It's a biological impossibility.
So you're prepared to support 8 clones of yourself, but you won't man up and take care of your own kid?
I did not have relations with that android.
Look, it's common sense. If you're not the father, we can put this all to bed by hooking you up to my 100% accurate lie detector test.
100% accurate lie detector test? There's no such thing.
Actually, there is.
Oh, hello, Mommy. I can't see you.
That is because I'm in the director's control booth, you simpering fool.
Oh, doesn't the director mind?
He hasn't said a word. Then again, I did shoot him.
Hey, that's against union rules. Hang on. What was that you said about the lie detector test?
Shut up, you opportunistic parasite. It is time for my say. I have watched you for many years, Jeremy Vile.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
And I have found the fact that your ratings continue to rise absolutely inexplicable. Earthlings are indeed stupid, but they're not that stupid. Recently, however, all became clear. You see, dear viewers, our friend Jeremy is, in fact, an alien.
Yeah, it's true. He feeds off the fear and negative emotions, and what better place to gather those than on a bottom-feeding, moron-attracting chat show like the one we have seen here today? No offense.
So, is Neinstein my daddy?
Oh, silence, nincompoop. My grandmama would admire Mr. Vile if it wasn't for the fact that he is such a threat. That's why she had to set this irresistible honey trap. He couldn't turn down the opportunity to stick his oar into a galactic custody battle. So, Earth scum, what do you think of your beloved Crusader now?
Oi, you're holding up the wrong cue card, you moron!
Sorry, but no, I don't think I am, actually.
Right, that's it. Cut! Pull the plug!
Hold it right there, Vile. I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I want to hear what Zelda has to say.
I believe it is high time this pot-stirring little maggot received a taste of his own medicine.
You see, that is why I have devoted my own infinitely precious time to turning this bogus lie detector into an actual lie detector. If Mr. Vile would care to take a seat, I believe he will find the result most satisfying.
Why are you just sitting there, Neinstein? Do something!
If you've nothing to hide, there's no need to fear. Why, that's just good old-fashioned common sense.
There we go. Strapped in nice and tight.
Oh, look! Mummy gave me some questions. Number 1. Are you an evil, energy-sapping alien who wants to take over the world?
What? Of course not. Okay, yes, it's true.
You know, I'm starting to see the appeal of this show.
Number 2, do you really think that you're improving the world with this show?
Yeah, I'm here to fix society for hard-working families. Oh, fine. I couldn't give less of a fig about fixing society. I'm here to feed on your negative emotions. You humans, you're so quick to judge, so quick to jump on a bandwagon. You were an all-you-can-eat buffet waiting to happen. Yes, that's it. Delicious hatred.
Wait, are you sure this is the right course of action? He's feeding.
Ours is not to reason thy. Ours is but to do or grin, and that will make us die.
Oh, actually, I'm feeling a bit full.
And finally, what do you really think of your audience?
Why, my audience are the most loyal, honest. Yeah, who am I kidding? They're chumps, the very worst kind of television audience. They wouldn't know their xeroids from their elbows if I wasn't here to tell them. So tasty, so filling. At the end of the day, you scrumptious cretins will never be rid of me. You need me. Oh, crikey. Oh, I'm fit to burst. Literally.
Blimey! That was vile!
We saved the day!
Well, the world has been rid of a great evil and a truly awful show. If there's one thing we can all hope for, it's that the show that takes its place will better serve society.
Coming up next, Judge Zelda. This week, Judge Zelda impartially listens to all of your cases before deciding that you're all guilty. Now, where's my black cap?
Stage 1 complete.
Let's go.
Spectrum is green.
Well, there you are.
I thought.
What do you think of that, Jamie?
Well, I love that little mini episode, and I think
Yeah,
you
it's
did
fun to do.
a really excellent job, I have to say.
Ah,
You know,
no.
it was
I mean,
uncanny, the
well,
voice work.
No, that's very kind. I mean, I spent a lot of time and thought on it,
I
as you
mean-
know, and it was a great
I mean,
pleasure
Windsor
to
Davis
do.
is a pretty tough character to replicate, a tough voice, so you did a brilliant job, I thought. What?
Sorry, well, I didn't. No, I don't think you. I was Jeremy Vile. I was Jeremy Vile.
So of course I was joking.
Well, you
I
didn't
was
even
joking.
recognise that. You didn't even know that was me?
No, Richard, I mean, Gerry Vile was the best thing of all. I was
3
joking. I was
years at drama school, a 26-year career, and it comes to this.
Anyway, it was great.
See you next
Bye.
week.